Originally, I was going to wait to post this video because I wanted to get footage from all the raids. We're talking Destiny 2 raids and Destiny 1 raids. But then Bungie announced that tomorrow is going to be the Year 2 stream for Destiny 2, and I'm sure there's going to be plenty of chatter about that. So, fortunately, I'm not going to have the time to go back to Destiny 1 to get some raid footage. I didn't get very good footage from Destiny 2 raids, so this is the shit that you see in the background. So instead of posting in next week or the week after when I originally had planned, I had to beat the stream video to the punch. Now, no matter how bad Destiny has been in the past or currently, the one thing that you can always count on was that the raids were going to require you to play with decent people who know their foot from their ass. Plain and simple. For me, personally, raiding with friends has always been the best part about Destiny. From the Vault of Glass all the way up to the new Spire of Stars. Raiding with friends is what makes me enjoy the game the most. Sort of how like the YouTube order gets the most joy to go and fuck himself. However, that doesn't mean the raids are perfect. Matter of fact, there is a giant flaw with the raids that I wish Bungie would address, and that is the raid bosses themselves. Now, before I get into raid bosses and how to fix them, let's go over some credentials here for a second. This is part of the video where I get to brag about my raiding and shit. By the time I post this video, I'm going to have about 550 completions total in all the raids. Destiny 1 and Destiny 2. And here are my raid reports to give you an idea of what it looks like. 386 raids in Destiny 1, with the lowest number being Wrath of the Machines with only 46 completions. And part of that is that it was the last raid in the game. I also feel like I should go back and run just one more Crota just to finish with an even 100. I really wanted to run the Destiny 1 raids one more time over, and then I would have had 100 Crota completions. But in any event, Destiny 2, I have over 160 raid completions as well. Over 100 Leviathan raids, 55 plus Argos runs, and now the Spire of Stars just came out, so that doesn't have many completions. I know this is not the most raid completions, because there are people who literally just farm completions for shits and giggles. They want 5,000, 10,000 raid completions just because they want to see their name on top of the leaderboards, which is fine. If they're enjoying the game, cool. No problems to that. Me, I beat my weekly raids, I help people beat their raids, and then I play other content in Destiny, and I have pretty much played every single piece of content this game has offered since launch. I don't have the most raid completions, but clearly I've done the shit enough to know what the fuck I'm doing in raids and know what the fuck I'm talking about. In every raid, I have held every position needed. I've run oracles on every single side. I've been the first man across the Crota's Bridge to hold it down solo. Relic holder for War Priest, ball thrower in Wrath of the Machine, lead the ground team in the Pleasure Gardens, defend all Argos plates, hold down the outside plates in the Spires. I have done every position necessary in every single raid encounter. There is nothing I haven't done in any of the raids that I can't do again. I have also carried so many people to their first raid completions. You can tell just by my Sherpa acknowledgements on the raid website. I bring tons of people through their raids for the first time. And matter of fact, this past weekend, I brought another 2 people through their first Argos completions. It happens to be one of my subscribers. If he wants to acknowledge who he is, he can certainly do so. I brought his parents through the fucking thing. And oddly enough, his mom was the much better player. His dad was fucking clueless. I don't know what the fuck he was doing. Brown Power was with me. Brinkish Dean was with me. But essentially, we had to carry these 2. Not that they were bad players, but they just couldn't get their shit together. At the end, finally got them through it. Had to pretty much baby the dad all the way through the raid. But it shows I can take pretty much anyone through a raid, even going through their first time. So now that you have perspective into my raid running abilities and knowledge of the motherfucker, Bungie, future raid bosses need to be changed. If you list out all the raid bosses in both games, you start to see they have a few things in common. A lack of movement, a damage mechanic that players must first solve before you can actually hurt the boss, and very little direct physical threat to the players aside from maybe shooting a gun at us and a stomp feature if you get too close. And you can list each encounter and you will see the majority have these items in common. Templar, Atheon, Crota, War Priest, Golgoroth, Oryx, Vosik, Axis, Callus, Argos, Valkaur. For the sake of fairness though, I would like to add the Siege Engine from the Wrath of the Machine and Skolas, even though he really wasn't a raid encounter, because they are the only 2 encounters that really break the norm. The Siege Engine alone is just a large set piece, which I thought was a fucking fantastic addition to the raid. It was honestly Something unique to the raid compared to everything that it had before it. Skolas wasn't a raid boss, but obviously he was the Prison of Elders boss. That doesn't really differentiate too much from a raid boss. But again, he wasn't a raid boss. He was the Prison of Elders boss. But he was unique in how the fact that he worked differently from the other characters. Raid bosses themselves, though, they move very little, if at all. I mean, the Destiny 2 raid bosses do not move at all and basically just turn around and take damage from you and shoot you wherever they possibly can. Callus, Argos, Kaur, they just stand and absorb your damage. They don't fucking move. The bosses that do move have limited movement. Templar would teleport to a set location and then he would not move from that location, other, just like floating around or whatever. Atheon walks around his ledge, but he doesn't really come off the ledge. He has a certain platform that he stands in, but he never really moves from that platform. Crota rotates to 2 set platforms in the room, but you know where he's going at all times. War Priest will walk around his ledge, but I mean, essentially he just goes back and forth. Golgoroth turns in his pool of water. Oryx is a set-piece boss, but his movements are set once he moves for that first time. Vossik doesn't move. Axis will teleport to 4 random locations from his platform. But none of these bosses truly move freely around their arena. None of them pose a proximity threat to you since you know where they will be in almost every single encounter of the fight. The only boss that has relatively free movement is Skolas. And even then, you generally know what spots he's going to be at and what platforms you can stay at where he won't be a main threat. The main proximity threats that we have are always going to be the adds in any boss room, whether it's the Supplicants against Atheon, the Countless Cabal and the Callus or Kaur fights, all the Shanks and Fallen at Axis. The bosses will fire shit at you. Atheon spams shots at us. Axis fires those fucking nano swarms at us. Callus has a laser. Golgoroth stares us down and he'll melt us if you get within sight of that beam. But the otherwise bosses never concern you when it comes to surviving in the arena. The other part of each boss fight is the damage mechanic. Players need to take a couple of steps first before you can actually hurt the boss, such as throwing the balls at Axis, unlocking Argos' shield, jumping from platform to platform in the ceiling of Oryx's throne room, getting the buff that allows you to survive his white mechanic while shooting his chest and then detonating fucking balls around the room. Yeah, man, that took a lot to explain. But anyway, the new raid boss, motherfucker, this guy's got 8 fucking steps to unlock his damage phase. Holy shit, man. You're constantly stepping on plates, stepping off plates, stepping on plates. It's like fucking the Destiny version of the hokey pokey. You step on the big plate, you step off the big plate. You step on the small plate and you throw the ball around. You do the hokey pokey and you burn the bastard down. That's what it's all about. That shit's catchy, man. I'm patenting that motherfucker. But essentially, you get the point. These are 3 factors in every major raid boss encounter. Now, I don't want raid bosses to be like strike bosses, where you can melt the motherfuckers down almost immediately without any form of mechanic. But at the same time, some strike bosses are a much bigger physical threat. Some of them have varied attacks that you need to be aware of. And some will move around and stalk the fuck out of you. After Destiny 1 launched, with all those meat sponge bosses that basically ate your bullets for lunch, they added more unique strike bosses along the way, like Alakul, the Darkblade, Tanix and his never-ending fucking firing in that goddamn cannon, the Shield Brothers, where they fucking bash the shit out of you, jumping in the goddamn air, man. Oh, motherfucker, man. Nokris, and throwing balls to allow for more damage while he floats around the fucking room, the integrated Spire, where you have to fight him on 3 different platforms. But you know what? I would like to see a raid boss that crosses in between a strike boss and a current raid boss. I want to see a raid boss chase us around the room or the arena, or something similar to how Skolas was freely able to move around the map while you could damage him along the way. The 3 Destiny 2 raid bosses are the laziest fucking enemies possible, and not lazy in design. I'm not talking about how they built them, but lazy in their asses don't fucking move. Callus was a robot, and he basically stood on his stage the entire time after you shot his fucking empty cup out of his hand. This Kaur motherfucker is a giant incendior that does not move. I don't even know if he's a guy in there or he's just in a big fucking suit, but essentially, he does not move. And then Argos was a giant flying hydra that floats in the air the whole time. You can't even get close to him because there's just no platform to get anywhere near the motherfucker. I want something that chases people and torments us. A boss that doesn't sit on a platform or teleport to a set location that I can avoid. You know, though the fucking strike is annoying and it had to be removed, but the Exodus Crash Thavix fight is one of the few bosses that gets all up in your grill in Destiny 2. Since it's a giant vandal, he charges at you and he moves real fast. It gives you a challenge up close and personal. That is a stepping stone for a raid boss. The Shield Brothers, back in Destiny 1 with their fucking flying headbutts and shit. They got all up in your grill. Now, obviously, people cheese it and they found that little corner where they don't fucking hit you. But essentially, this challenged you to move. And then even if you look at some of the most current pieces, Zol, the Worm God, shows that you don't have to fucking reskin enemies either. Now granted, they just made a giant uncircumcised penis as an enemy. But it shows you can do something other than a reskin. I mean, they're having you fight fucking foreskin, but it's not a reskin, man. You know, now that I made that point, that is some shit I just can't unsee at this point. Anybody knows now, they're like, oh yeah, man, this is just giant's uncircumcised penis. I can't fight this motherfucker anymore. Oh man, my brain just travels to different areas at different times. But anyway, now that that image is in your head, Zol is basically a giant fucking uncircumcised penis. In any event, making a boss anything other than an existing property, like a giant Incendior, a giant fucking Phalanx, that's the best idea, man. Axis was a spider captain or whatever the fuck it is, but he never really attacked us. Callus is this mushroom-headed robot, but he stands on the stage drinking out of his empty-ass wine glass, and then he doesn't really attack you other than a laser through his fucking forehead. Oryx was a giant background set piece, but it was damn impressive when you look at this scale. These are some of the things that I want. Now, I could sit here and I can offer up different ideas on how to do a raid boss. I do have this idea where you're in this large multi-tier arena with sort of tunnels that lead you to a middle area, and essentially you would have this ogre on the floor, and he's able to reach his hand through those tunnels to try to get you. Essentially, that would be sort of the mechanic where the boss is actually trying to attack you where you can still avoid him. But essentially, I have some ideas, but there's no reason to give Bungie my ideas because in essence, they're never going to take these shits, and if they do, they're going to steal them without my permission. Intellectual property, motherfucker. But look, the raids are by far the best part of Destiny. Figuring out the puzzle and how to do damage to the boss, figuring out how to get as much DPS on the boss, these are fun parts of the raid. And especially those first couple of times where you're learning and you're struggling with your friends trying to beat the motherfucker, and then when you finally do it, you get that sense of accomplishments. These are things that I really do miss with the raid. These are things that I think can be improved if you give the boss a direct threat against people. Right now, there is no direct threat with some of the bosses. The direct threat only comes from the ads in the arena. Having just a straight up DPS boss fight, a straight up damage boss fight is something that they haven't done. The Siege Engine set piece was absolutely fantastic, and I would love to see something like that come back again. These are cool ideas that get you away from a normal raid boss. These are ideas that could really work when it comes to future raids, now that they're kind of getting away from this Leviathan thing, hopefully. Hopefully they're going to take us away from all these fucking raid layers and actually give us bosses with some of the other enemies. But essentially, Bungie, you have to give us something a little bit more. I love the raids. Don't get me wrong. I think the raids are the best part of Destiny, and I have said that from Destiny 1 all the way to Destiny 2. But the raid bosses do need a little bit more at this point. You need more than just someone standing on a platform waiting for the damage mechanic to be unlocked in order to kill the motherfucker. Give us some more direct threats from the boss, give us some better unlock mechanics, or no unlock mechanics at all, where what we need to do is just survive the fight and beat the motherfucker. These are things that I would like to see. Whether or not they do them, who the fuck knows? Whether or not they're smart enough to pull this shit off, I highly doubt it. But anyway, tomorrow we're going to see that stream. I highly doubt that stream is going to be a full reveal of what we're going to see. My guess is they're going to hold off on the full live reveal until E3. What we're most likely going to see tomorrow is just going to be some of the improvements that are going to take place in the next DLC, such as the gun randomizations, maybe some drop rates, maybe some loot, maybe some varied activities that are going to show how we're able to level up or whatever the case. I don't think it's going to be the full content. I think it's going to be the background content improvements that players have been looking for, whether it's getting rid of Eververse or improving Eververse, whether there's going to be changes to the Iron Banner factions, who knows? I don't know in full what it'll be, but we'll find out tomorrow. So in any event, as always, rate, comment, subscribe, and all that good shit, and I'll see you guys in the next video.